This is the Better Life Podcast with Brandon Turner and
Cam Cathcart.
What's up, Cam?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. We had a good evening last night, hanging out with the guest, actually, from today's episode, Justin Waller.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Had a fire, had some cigars.
It was a blast.
Can we say cigars on a show like this? Are all the Christians going to be mad at me now?
They're going to be mad. I did not partake.
Oh, of course not. You never would. Yeah, it was a good evening sitting around a fire at another buddy's house and getting to know our guests even better than we did on the show. Mm-hmm. So now here we are today, the next day, recording the introduction here to let you all know that this is one of those shows you're going to want to listen all the way through. I mean, every show you should listen through, but this one's got so many cool tidbits and just a piece of advice from somebody who's built a multi-million dollar a year business, very successful from nothing, from like scratch, from less than nothing. Yeah. That was solid.
Yeah, and I love how he has been able to systematize that business to not have to work in it as much anymore. It's pretty amazing how he tells us how he did that.
But the conversation, one of my favorite pieces of this episode, you guys got to listen for, is his conversation on how he treats his employees and how that impacts the growth of his business, as well as how he's used social media to find employees.
Yeah.
That was a cool part too. So.
And I loved towards the end where we start talking about his family. Yeah. And one of the questions,
I'm not
going to tell you the question, but just how he's going to raise his kids in today's culture.
Yeah.
I think is a really fun part of this.
Yeah. Justin Waller, for those who don't know who he is, you'll hear more about him. He's a massive influencer on the internet in kind of the like men's like put your pants on, go get a job kind of space. Like he's very much like, I'm going to help young guys try to be better. Now, he is also controversial. He's got some videos out there that have gone super viral of things that he even said was like, oh, I said that really wrong, and that probably shouldn't have come out that way. So if you recognize him from the internet, you probably know who I'm talking about. But this guy, I mean, he knows business. He's got a huge amount of heart towards helping people become better versions of themselves. And I'm excited to bring you the interview today. So
yeah,
anything you want to add?
No, it was amazing. I had a blast on it. It was a lot of fun, and he's done such a great job of building his business, building his brand. He is a little polarizing.
He's a little polarizing.
But it was a great time.
All right, let's get to the show.
Let's do it.
Justin Waller, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you here.
Glad to be here.
So, all right. So I know you. I've known you for a few years online, kind of followed you a little bit, your journey, seen your clips pop up. I know you as first of all, I knew you were like an online personality force. Had, again, a lot of videos have gone viral. You have a lot of great advice for men and women. And I really have enjoyed your content. And then I find out you're a real estate guy. Then I find out you listened to Bigger Pockets back in the day.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, 300 doors.
Yep.
Like,
308.
wild. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I know you had a construction company.
I do.
That you don't have to work in day to day. Steel, correct?
Yeah, we wreck steel
Yeah,
all over
you
the
wrecked.
country.
Yeah, that's
Costco's, airplane hangars, Walmart's, Targets, stuff like that. When you walk in a big box store like an Amazon or something like that, shipping, look up the steel. That's us. Cranes, manpower, welding, roofs.
Wild.
Things, yeah.
I want to get into all that, how you even got started with that. But before we do, so that's who you are today. Let's go way back. So who was Justin Waller?
I was a young guy from South Louisiana that just wanted the best for my life. I grew up kind of like the trailer parks and the side of town where you didn't really have a whole lot of access to lawyers and doctors and people in those types of neighborhoods. And, I always say that the only way we knew how to make doctor money was in boots. And so I saw construction as the only possible option. And in fact, we had a house fire when I was a little boy, and we even stayed at my stepdad's boss's house, and we had gone into this new neighborhood that I'd never seen before and went into this other house that I'd definitely never seen before. And it kind of hit me. The only consciousness I had at the time is like, oh, there's money to be made here. And I think South Louisiana in general is kind of that kind of atmosphere. Yeah, there's doctors, lawyers, and there's people that do well, but overall, it's very, very much a workforce type state.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity that I saw in construction was really the only consciousness I had. And so I just wanted to do better for myself. And I remember being in high school, because the Mississippi River's there, plants are really big. And I always reference the movie October Skies. It's a movie about the kid that...
The rocket, right?
Yeah, the rockets. He doesn't want to work in the coal mine.
Yeah.
And so the plants were October Skies for me. And so we're going to play we're going to play Arkansas in Little Rock, Arkansas. And that's when they had like Derek McFadden and Felix Jones and all these really good players. And so I wanted to distract myself a bit. And I had heard about this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I actually read it my junior year of college. And so I knew I wanted to own a business. And so once I got out of college, I knew it was going to be a matter of time, but unfortunately, I graduated college in 2009.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. And I'd been told, if I go to college, get a football scholarship, and do construction management, I'll end up in Dallas making $150 a year. I'll have a sick 401k, a really nice F-150, which to me at the time was like a Lamborghini. Like I am from South Louisiana, so I'm like, man, one day I might have a King Ranch, and that's not how it happened. So I ended up digging ditches for a company called Austin Bridge and Road in a small town called Bastrop, Louisiana. And it was a tough time for me because I was coming off a little breakup. Unfortunately, the girlfriend was Miss Louisiana, like literally getting ready for Miss America. So I'm driving to go dig my ditches with my college degree, and there's like 4 billboards of her on the way. It was such shit, man. It was shit. And she actually got engaged to a Brazilian guy, and I moved back to Baton Rouge, and I was waiting tables at Texas Day Brazil. And I was like, she's going to Miami with this Brazilian guy, and I'm waiting tables. And I'm like 24 at this point. And so there was like that really hard start. It was probably the hardest time of my life. It was actually graduating college. And eventually, after I went to a place 4 times and got kicked out of the job trailer on a job site 4 times, somebody gave me a shot at a job. And so I moved to New Orleans, and I auto-drafted money out of my account to save it for my contractor's license test, because you have to have a net worth of $10,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I went and I lived off the per diem, and I did the ramen noodles thing, and I did the extra hours thing. And after about 6 months, I had the money to apply for the test. And that was about 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of trials and tribulations in between, but that's pretty much where I was.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you decided you were going to go open your own business. I'm assuming you didn't buy one. You just started.
No, I didn't
own
buy
thing.
it.
Yeah.
No, I started by myself. What we did is we started off doing metal buildings in backyards, like little 30 by 40 sheds.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, I wanted to grow the business.
Yeah.
So I made sure I found mentors, and I started to get really good at looking big on paper. So like I'd find a mentor and I'd be like, hey, what does your proposal template look like when you send it to big general contractors? He's like, son, I'll send it to you. Thank you, sir. Go in there in Word. And like every time it says his company, I'll put my company in. And so we like really looked the part on paper. And then getting the actual buildings up is obviously the hardest part. Yeah. Winning the job is one thing, but getting the buildings up is a completely another. So there was a whole lot of, buying my own tools out of pawn shops, or my guys would quit for 50 cents and pawn the tools, or whatever it may be. There is definitely a long road. I would say we got to over, where we were doing multi-millions of dollars by the time I was 28, and I started at 24. But I didn't really start making really, really good money until like 32.
Yeah.
I'd make a couple $100,000 a year, but we didn't start making millions in profit a year until I was about 32. So it's definitely been a ride for sure. I often say if I would have picked any other business, and I mean any other business, that I might have done a lot better.
Yeah.
But I do think construction made me who I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that.
So looking back on that, like from the beginning of the entrepreneurship, for those people listening that are just like, I want to start a business, whether it's real estate, construction, just whatever.
Yep.
What were some of the biggest mistakes you feel like you made that you could say, I wouldn't do that again this way?
I'll tell you the number one I think about when you ask me that is I did E-Myth for 2 years at like 26, maybe. It was like a year or 2 into the business. And it made me, it actually took my greatest superpower away, which was spending time with my guys.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by you did E-Myth? Like, was that is that
so
a
I did
system?
direct consulting.
Okay.
So if you've read the book, I know you've read the book E-Myth.
Yeah.
I started putting systems in, and it made me a little bit cold.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
it wasn't about maybe buying the guy's beer as much as it was, okay, I have to build a legitimate company, so I got to look legit, so I got to be the boss, so I got to put this checklist in this system. But the problem is that I can't just hand a guy a system or a checklist without him being part of building it. Mm-hmm. And that was just an ignorance I had at such a young age. Now, if I'm going to build a system, I'm going to pull the people in that are going to run the system and have them help me build it, because they have to be bought into it. And there has to be incentive in it for them and these things. And so I thought that, okay, well, if I pay you the going wage for this job and I give you this checklist, you should do the checklist. Once the checklist is done, we make the exact amount of money that that I estimated on the project. That's not how it works. Construction management school doesn't get you ready for dealing with the wives. Mm-hmm. Dude, we keep up with our main guys wives' birthdays, send them get their nails done. I need her to like me.
Yeah.
I need her to be allies with us, because if I need him to go to New York or California or the moon to put up a building, I want her on my side. And I just wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I just wasn't there. Like, I didn't know. I thought, well, if we put these systems in just like E-Myth, you know, then he'll follow it. We'll never have a mistake. We're good. No, that is not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. So
That's a funny point, actually. The fact that most guys are not going home going, man, like, even if the boss is a good boss, they're not going home going, yeah, my boss is so cool today. He gave me like a beer at the office. They just don't talk about that, even though if it's true. Yep. But when the boss is like, hey, can you work an extra 2 hours? The first thing he's going to do when he gets home is like, yeah, sorry, boss made me work another 2 hours. So all the wife or the spouse ever is going to hear is the negatives. It's a good reminder for us that have employees to remember, like, we have to overcompensate with some positives, because all they hear is day after day after day. Like, I think of like when I was at Bigger Pockets, I would just complain about like random people there. Like, I mean, Josh Dorkin's one of my best friends, but obviously he would do things that would piss me off. So I just go home and be like, yeah, Josh said this today, Josh did this. So then all Heather hears is what Josh did. And then, you know, Josh comes over and we're like, you know, hanging out. She's like, I thought you didn't like that guy. Of course I like that guy. He's like my best friend. That's funny. That's a great point, man.
yeah, and I'll tell you another mistake that compounded interest to that problem is that I didn't stop what I was doing and go sit down, move the desk out of the way, get knee to knee with that guy, and just tell him, hey, man, I love you. I believe in you. I brought you here. I want you to prove me right. Mm-hmm. And this is what I see. And this is how I see that we can fix it, because I want to be right because I chose you.
Yeah.
At the time, I would let there be a communication gap between us. Mm-hmm. But the longer that communication gap goes, the worse the problem gets, because you both feel the energy.
Yeah.
It's there. Every human feels that energy with other humans.
Yeah.
But it's the courageous one. It's the true leader, in my opinion. Something I had to grow into. Move the desk out of the way. Not the boss anymore. Hey, listen, man, as a person, I want you to succeed. I want you to prove me right because I chose you. Mm-hmm. Please let me help you. Help me be right.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know to do it. I was too young. Yeah. I was pissing vinegar. Like, I'd get mad, hop on the forklift, start trying to do stuff. It's just something that you have to grow into. It's just even a maturity thing at that time. I think that if I would have known it would have worked, I would have done it. I just didn't believe it would.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's another struggle of young entrepreneurs, particularly for me in construction, being the youngest one in the room, being the youngest employee. In fact, to this day, I'm the youngest employee in my office. We're S Corp, so I employee.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're in a different place now because I have, you know, we'll be 15 years next year. Wow. So that's different. And I'm 38. So it's different. At 24, 25, 26, you know, I just didn't see it. I couldn't see it yet. And it got beat into me.
Did you have a hard time? Because I know I have a hard time sometimes, especially early on when I was young, instructing people older than me. I almost felt like I didn't have a right. Like, they were my elders. So like, they were a 45-year-old dude working for me as a construction, you know, like supervisor at my apartment. I'm 24 and I own an apartment building. And I'm like, hey, I need you to go do this. But the guy's like, yeah, he's like 45, 50. I always felt weird. Did you ever feel weird that way?
I did feel weird. I did because a lot of the guys, and still there's guys I have now that have been putting buildings up longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
My general superintendent, I do think he's one of the best in the world. His name's Charles Coots. Wonderful man. Very expensive to take hunting, but I want to keep him. But yeah, it was difficult in the beginning, especially when you're dealing with an iron worker, because he'll be like, man, I've been doing this, you know, like that guy, the drunk guy from South Louisiana. Like, it's hot, you know, and who's this freaking tight jean wearing, Abercrombie looking model ass, you know, hey, look, man, and I have squared up with guys on the slab, like we were going to fight, like, hey, bro, let's go. Also, not a good idea. Don't do that. You know, even though you'll probably beat the hell out of the guy, still stupid.
Yeah.
You know, what did you prove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you established though in those situations some level of like, oh, he is one of us. He's willing to push around a little bit, or do you think it just hurt the relationship?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
Like,
no, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I did get a lot of respect when I get fired up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What bothered me about that is that I didn't think it was necessary. And I thought it was foolish. And to this day, I still do think it's foolish. Yeah. But there are times, especially when you're dealing with certain avatars of people, you have to speak their language. Yeah. Even when it comes to money. There were times where I remember very, very vividly, there was a time where I thought that I could do life insurance, health type bonus structures for my foremen that were in the field running the jobs. And they laughed me out the room with the insurance agent. They're like, man, just give me a $2 an hour raise. And I'm like, oh, we don't speak the same money language.
Yeah.
He didn't care about the future. He cared about Friday.
Yeah.
And beer.
Yep.
And so if you were to look at the bonus structure for my company now, it changes quite a bit top to bottom.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay. But that is one thing I would tell a young man in a construction company is like, you have to understand there's going to be a massive gap between the money language of you and your direct managers and the guy at the bottom of the totem pole in the field, or even midway of the org board in the field. And it's important that you remember that and you come and meet them where they are, even if it is how you talk or a money language or what have you. So yeah, there was some benefits to beefing guys. Now I did have an advantage of very physically imposing.
Yeah. What are you, 6'5"? Are you?
I'm pretty tall.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
we're looking
6'5".
pretty. Yeah, we're looking pretty eye to eye.
I have cowboy boots on, so I am almost 6'4", completely barefoot.
Okay.
So when I put cowboy boots on, probably
I was gonna say, I'm
6'6".
pretty sure we were looking at each other.
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
I'm
for
like
sure.
6'5", give or take. I
Yeah.
think I'm shrinking by a little bit. I slouch too much.
I've heard you're 6'6".
Yeah,
So,
I was at, I think at my highest was 6'6". I think I'm like
Yeah.
6'4" and 7/8 now.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna round up to 6'6".
you're 6'6", bro.
Yeah, thanks.
take
It's
it, man.
a
It
much
sounds
better
better.
number.
So,
okay, go ahead.
Question for you. So the whole EMIS stuff,
Yeah.
that's fascinating to me because when I started my company, I read the book Traction, and the very first thing that I
Great
wanted
book.
to do, it was, but I was like, I'm a visionary and I don't want to do anything else. And so I was like, I'm going to hire an integrator and I'm just going to sit at the top and I'm going to try and systematize my business and not have to work. And so you've been around for 15 years, you said.
Yeah.
And so how did you go from like the start to where you were at, where you were doing everything, to at 38 years old, you're, basically able to travel the world, be on podcasts, all that good stuff. How did you systematize your business over time to get to there?
Yeah. So I created all the systems to put out enough bids, doing conversion rates.
Yeah.
And then we had what we called a project process, which is basically there's different phases of construction, particularly for us, just unloading the truck with safety, quality, and production. Every mistake we've ever made, and from unloading the truck to pre-job walks to hanging the steel, to sheeting the walls, to the roofing, to seaming the roof, to putting the gutters and downspouts in to line up with the subsurface drainage. Every mistake we've ever made is in each phase of that checklist.
Yeah.
In addition, everything that I would change about a contract ever in the office, there's pre-construction. The way we do our workman's comp, the way we do just down to just every little thing, the way we find our men, has been very, very important. But one thing that really stands out to me is, have you ever read the book Who Not How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a second person that would dance with me when it came to the systems and the vision that I had. And that made a lot of difference. Have you ever seen the video of the two people dancing in a field?
Yeah.
Where one's dancing by
one by
himself.
himself, and it's the second follower.
It's the
or whatever.
second person.
Second person.
I found that person.
Dude. Yeah.
And it's a woman. And she's one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met. And she's got a lot of dollars. She's like me. We're basically the same person, except she's a 50-something-year-old. You know what I'm saying?
How'd you find her?
I stole her from Jacobs Engineering. Yeah. I had a bookkeeper that knew her, and she was working at Jacobs. And you got to be tough. She worked in all environment I'm in. And it also led me to something that I think is very impactful. I'm a huge believer in female managers. And the reason is, especially in construction, if I call my guy and I'm like, hey, Facundo, tie off on the roof, it's this dick measuring thing.
Yeah.
It's this fight for supremacy.
Yep.
I can call Renee or Noelia or Valentina and say, hey, tell Facundo to tie off on the roof. We're going to get kicked off the job. They can cuss him up and down. And they'll say, yes, ma'am, I do it for you.
Yeah.
I know I can fire the guy.
I send Kat to do that
Yeah.
sometimes. My assistant Kat,
Yeah.
she's incredible for that. I'm like, will you go take care of this problem for me?
I call them my Trojan horses.
Yeah.
I genuinely do, because it's like, and then it's like art of war. It's a war I don't have to fight.
Yeah.
Why am I going to get his, when I, literally my girls can cuss him up and down. Customers too.
Yeah.
If we, and it's not that I mind getting into it with them. It's just, the fight never has to happen, And these women are competent, they're smart, they're organized, They're strong. They're trained. I've sent them all to roofing school. I've taught them everything about the business. So they can call people, like very technically call people out on bullshit. And that's been very powerful as well for me is putting the right people in the right positions to be able to reduce the friction.
Yeah.
You know, like my guys don't even call me anymore when they're upset about something. They call them.
Yeah.
Like I set the business up that way. And then giving them, and then having trust enough to give somebody their job and give them their measurable, which I get every day, and truly trusting them to get it done. And then I have very strong relationships with them. I go on vacation with them. I take them places. I just sent one to an Adele concert. It was like her dream to see Adele. So I sent, actually 2 of them went. We do kind of weekend events where we spend time together and we talk about everything but business, you know, or I try to. Yeah. It comes up because we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
So I think the mistake that I made in my 20s, maybe I've overcompensated for, but I think it's been, and I probably do spend more money spending time with my direct people than a normal person might, but it's not broken. It's, and for that reason, I don't think I'll ever change that. So what if I give them a couple extra days vacation, or if they need something, or if they have a dream they want, and it's nothing to me, then, you know, we're doing much bigger things. If we hit our goals, does it matter? It doesn't. It matters zero.
Yeah.
So I think that was really the difference for me, and I think it was the right decision.
Yeah. Where is your business headquartered at?
Currently, it's in Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge. And do you live in Baton Rouge?
I jump back and forth between Baton Rouge and Miami.
So you make it there a lot.
Yeah, and we're actually, I'm there a lot. Way more than you would think, especially if you follow me on social media.
Yeah.
I'm there way more than you.
Yeah, you're not posting every day like, here I am at the, you know, whatever restaurant.
The Dollar General.
Yeah, Dollar General. Here
literally, the Dollar General or at Walmart.
It doesn't do as well on social.
Bro,
Dunkin'
it's
Donuts.
so funny. It's so funny. Like I'll be walking through Walmart in my hometown and some kid will recognize me. He's like, oh my God. And he'll ask me for a picture. He's like, and after he's like, why are you at Walmart? I'm like, bro, I'm from the same town you are, cowboy. Like, so it's good. You know, we are moving though.
Yeah.
We're moving everything to Miami.
You are. Okay.
Yeah, because the opportunity's there, and we work all over the country. It's not like I'm doing jobs in Baton Rouge.
Got ya.
You know, we're in all 50 states, the Caribbean. You know, we'll do a job on the moon if they'll give it to us. Just call Elon up. Where's the rocket? You know, we'll hang still anywhere. So we are making a plan this year to slowly move. We're going to put the houses on the market and then our personal homes. And keep the portfolio there because the portfolio is not even all there.
The real estate stuff?
Yeah. So
I would love to actually get into real estate here in a minute. But before we do, I do want to get to today's show sponsor. And one thing we do on the show is 100% of the money that comes in from any sponsorship goes right to a charity of the guest choosing. So for today's episode, all the money that comes in from these ads, where are we going to send that money to? What do you care about?
Yeah, I actually want you to give it to the same charity that Cody did.
Okay.
I watched that episode. I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of smart, intelligent women. And I love veterans, man.
Very cool.
And so anything we can do for those guys, I want to contribute to. So please give it to the same one.
Perfect. Will do. All right. Well, that said, this week's show is sponsored by... Hey, quick story for you. About 5 years ago, I went to a real estate event where I met a handful of incredible investors. 2 of them in particular, though, changed my life. Those 2 investors were Brian Murray, Ryan Murdoch. They're now partners with me at Open Door Capital, where we bought over $1 billion worth of real estate. Not a bad ROI for an event, right? Now, why do I share that? Because it's one of the most underutilized tools for real estate investors, events. You can't put a price tag on the relationships you build, new business partners you meet, the knowledge you gain. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Better Life's REI Summit that I'm personally hosting on May 3rd through May 5th in Denver, Colorado. I'll be there along with a number of other speakers that you might recognize like Ken McElroy, David Green, AJ Osborne, Brian Murray, who I mentioned earlier, and more. The event's going to be the most actionable real estate event ever, with sessions being structured on a how-to basis, so you can walk away with actionable steps that you can actually implement in your business ASAP. Whether you're a new investor or a seasoned investor, the dual-track sessions ensure that you'll be in sessions relevant to your business and experience. If you're interested in learning more, check out reisummit2024.com. That's reisummit2024.com. Ticket prices are increasing soon, so register ASAP to lock in the lowest rate while you can. All right, man. So, real estate investing.
Yeah.
Why real estate? Like you got a construction company making lots of money. Why venture into that world?
I wanted layers. You know, I told you I used to on Saturday mornings I'd wake up to go visit my construction sites and I'd listen to Bigger Pockets and I'd listen to you. And to me, real estate is an insurance policy. So I don't become that guy that had a lot of money one time and ruined it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And I want layers. And I think that people forget about just simple, like depreciation, for example. Depreciation alone,
Yep.
regardless of cash flow, appreciation, all those different things, I need the depreciation. And so, like, when you hear guys like Ken talk about, buying good debt, or Robert talking about buying good debt, that's very real.
Yeah.
I did a depreciation on my 64 unit last year and got a $600,000 tax break.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, because we did a cost seg.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll trade $25,000 for a cost seg to get a $600,000 tax break any day of the week.
Yep.
Just tell me.
Yeah.
Just tell me when. Like, I'm ready.
For a decade, my CPA Amanda, you met at my house.
She was
the other
great.
night.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Happy birthday, Amanda.
Yeah, happy birthday, Amanda. We did a little birthday celebration.
Late
for her.
grown-up
Yeah,
birthday.
it was so good. My wife, got little sparkle candles for her. But Amanda Hahn, she would always tell me year after year after year, Brandon, you just buy more real estate. And I didn't know what I would like, yeah, I know. Like, I thought she was just like encouraging me. She's like, no, you need to buy more real estate. And I'm like, yeah, I will. And I didn't realize until years after that, like, why she every year told me I need to buy more real estate. She never said you need to buy really good deals. Obviously, I advise buying good deals. It didn't even matter to her. It was just like, you need to buy as much real estate as you possibly can to offset all the income you're making on book royalties and everything else.
Right.
And so, like, I think that entire game, the depreciation game, is probably the biggest loophole or tax loophole there is, like, period. At least, like, it's got to be top 5.
Right.
And
Somewhere around 1031.
Yeah, exactly. Like the 1031, that thing, like, just such massive benefits to real estate investing. So I love that you recognize that. Yeah, I think last year I had $7 million in losses, like on paper. I lost $7 million on paper last year.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a rough year.
Sorry to hear that. I'll give you a hug after the show.
Yes,
All right,
exactly.
No problem, bro.
Yeah, we bought $400 million of real estate, and I lost $7 million on paper.
Yeah.
Even though the deal's cash flowed, even though I made money,
Exactly.
I lost $7 million on paper.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and because I'm a real estate professional, I can offset all my earned income, and it is wild. So,
You're doing the parks, right?
well, a lot of mobile home parks, and you've done that too, right?
Yeah, I have 7 of them.
Yeah, dude. Why mobile home parks?
Well, as you know, they cash flow very, very well.
Yeah.
I like the depreciation.
Yep.
You
It's the best depreciation in the market.
You depreciate in the parking lot.
Yep.
And think about it from an aspect of, like, so Grant Cardone, he talks about, like, buy 30-something units or more.
Yep.
And for an apartment building, it makes sense. But I almost look at the mobile homes as single family.
Yep.
You can't get into a single family for $25,000 anymore with the guarantee of lot rent. And we lease option.
Yep.
So we take the money down.
Yep.
A lot of times I'm in the black almost immediately or within 5 to 6 months because of the lease purchase scenario.
Yep.
And so
we do a lot of that too.
I don't think there's a better model in, we'll call it residential, like a place to stay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a better model. Now, I am looking into land development, and I am looking into industrial. I have a very strategic advantage, clearly. I can put the building up. Like, I'll send my boys out there at cost.
Dude, we should talk about that later. I got some ideas I'd love to powwow with you on.
Yeah. So, we build 1 million square foot buildings. Yeah. And the biggest issue in construction, now you got me pitching you, is the manpower.
Yep.
And so we are the building. We are the critical path. We are, honestly, a lot of the debt service on the bridge loan, because until we get a roof on that thing, you're not framing, you're not doing your electric, you're not sheetrocking, you're not painting, you're not laying floors. So I'm definitely going to look at that hard. I know there are very good returns. I'm actually really close to a guy that he works for a hedge fund, and he's looking. I'm not going to say where he is, but he's in a major metropolitan in the South.
Yeah.
That Ken likes.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
He's there, and he wants to come work with me, and maybe he could underwrite for us.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
who knows?
I like trailer parks a lot, and they've honestly cash flow better than my apartment buildings.
Yeah.
If I'm being
same. Me too.
Without
definitely.
because there's way less capex.
Yep.
Yeah, there's way less capex, and there's way just less nonsense, especially with the structure. Now, if I could turn those 64 units into condominiums, which I would never buy, but if I could turn them into condominiums and sell them and be like, here you go, then I would do that. But that's just not the case. So, we are where we are.
Yeah, do you have any mobile home parks yet?
I don't.
Yeah, let's get you some, Cam.
Dude, I'm a single family guy.
Dude, yeah. Like, I once saw a report that we talked about the depreciation, and it was just showing, it was from shoot, I wish I could give him a shout out. I don't remember who made this chart, but it showed all the different asset classes in real estate. It was like single family, multifamily, whatever, parking lots, all the stuff. Right. And the number one by far highest appreciation was mobile home parks by almost double. I mean, it was just nuts because a lot of times a tenant will own their own home. Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't tell everybody. And man, like when I look at guys that got into mobile home parks before me, like Kevin Buff is an example. Like those guys
they bought it for nothing.
They bought it for nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. Now people know.
Now people know. Yeah, the secret's out. And I think that part of that, some of that is my fault for talking about on Bigger Pockets every single episode.
It's definitely your fault. You've cost me money. Yeah. You have definitely cost me money, Brandon.
I'm so sorry. But, it's
no hug now.
We're going to keep
get that.
If
no
we just,
hug.
here's the real strategy is just keep building it up so then they buy all of our properties for twice as much as they're worth. So I'm really helping you, man.
And they will.
Yeah, they will.
And they definitely will. Like,
yeah,
I heard Grant say that one time.
Yeah.
He's like, I paid too much money for this place, and one day somebody will pay me too much.
Yeah, that's
true.
Yeah.
And look, man, if you want to get in the mobile home park space, don't worry about Brandon. I got you. I have some lots available.
There you go.
You can go to Clayton Homes. I'll let you put them there, and I'll charge you a lot rent.
Done.
It's good.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in for that.
We played with this strategy and we haven't actually fully executed it yet. Maybe you've done it or maybe this could work for you someday. I don't know. But I like the idea of we've got people who follow us who are younger. Let's imagine you're 24. You want to get started in real estate. You don't really have a lot of money. So I love this idea. And again, I don't have this yet, so don't hit me up on the DMs of like, okay, I'm ready to do this. It's like I can get you you become a mini real estate investor in my park. So you go and find a good home, a mobile home in another park. You negotiate a good price on it. You move it in. And then I'll even help pay for part of it. And then you manage that one tenant. Yeah, you can put a tenant in there or you can sell it on a lease option. I don't care. But it's your one little job. Now, why would I do that? Because all I want is lot rent. That's all I care about is lot rent. I don't care if you're making $300 a month in cash flow off that one little house and you're learning how real estate works at a very small, $20,000, $30,000 level. All in, you mean personal money, you might be in a few $1,000s. Yeah. Right. So I thought, what if I built a system where I had 100 of these guys? I mean, we fill about 400 homes a year that we actually have to go source or buy new. We buy some new, source, and we move them in, and we have about 400 homes every year. But could I get a couple hundred dudes to go do 2 apiece? It'd be a lot easier on me, and I still get lot rent. I just want lot rent.
Yeah, we've had that conversation as well. We do a lot of affiliate stuff. So
yeah, it's like the affiliate model, but for mobile home parks.
Had this conversation very deeply. I probably at some point will do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well.
Yeah,
we'll trade
notes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So how do you manage? As somebody who owns a large construction company, are you the guy out there calling the seller, talking to the broker? Do you have a team now that runs the real estate and they're building the empire for you? How does that?
Yeah, no, I have an entire team on both sides.
Okay.
Yeah, integrator in both. Yep. Systems in both. I get a report for every business every day, even the online.
Explain that. What does that look like?
So it's based off this exercise we call the island test. Okay. So imagine you're on the island of Maui, drinking mojitos all day with a bunch of senoritas that you flew in with you. Right? 10 of them.
Perfect.
Can't cancel me now, YouTube. And at the end of the day, the gentleman that's been bringing you drinks all day, he hands you a piece of paper, and that piece of paper has the 5 to 15 things that you measure on a daily basis, and if those numbers come in green, then you're good to drink mojitos another day.
Yeah,
I get a report like that. That includes also P&L to date last year. All the money spent on every credit card, cash on hand in every bank account, cash position, and those things. And we track it against year to date from last year, like I said. So those 5 to 15 things, along with those measurables that I just said, I get that report every day and I read it every day. And so if there is something there that's red, then I pick up the phone and I help that person through whatever it is, or we strategize around it. But most days it's pretty green. Yeah. So. Mojito awesome. Away.
Yeah, mojito. So the mojito test.
Well, sparkling water away. Yeah, water away now.
Well, let's talk about that. It's actually a funny story. We'll transition here. So you stopped by my house the other night, and I'd never met you before. First time I was ever meeting. Yeah. Right. I followed you online. You followed me online, and you showed up. And the first thing is a friend of ours, the nicest lady on earth, hands you a drink, hands you a cocktail.
The kindest lady on earth.
Yeah, the kindest lady hands you a cocktail.
Yes.
And I saw your face when it happened, and I had the thought. So what was going through your mind,
Brandon? It was devastation. It was devastation. So I just read the book on the plane. I just finished the book.
Alan Carr,
How to Control Your Drinking. And so in the last part of the book, he said, "You're supposed to have your last drink." He's like, "Get something, make sure it tastes, not good. So I'm like, okay, vodka straight. We all know that tastes horrible. So I get it and I sniff it and I smell it because like the whole thing is like trying to like change your mindset around drinking, like it's poison or whatever. And by the way, let me just preface this by saying I'm not a goody two shoes. I got hammered just last week. So this was me saying, Justin, it's time to read this book because I saw the Joe Rogan post.
Yeah. Joe Rogan. That's why
I've been watching Brandon Turner for years. Years. I go into Brandon's house and there's this very sweet woman that's like, yeah, and then I picked these out of my garden and I put some rum in it and she shoves it in my face and I'm just like, FML.
Yeah. Was it Caroline?
Yes. Sweetest lady on the planet. Yeah. And I'm like, so.
But you didn't drink it, man.
I didn't drink it. I held strong.
So when did you stop drinking? You said you got hammered last week.
On the plane.
On the plane.
Like an hour earlier.
Listen, an hour earlier, I was on the plane. I finished the book. I had the last drink. I go to Brandon Turner's house to host the bigger podcast.
Yeah.
Like Brandon Turner's house.
And I'm like,
I'm going to have to turn this drink down to this sweet lady. Brandon's right here. And I'm just like, fuck no. You know,
you handled it super well. And then we went downstairs and I mentioned that I stopped drinking. And you're like, oh, thank God. Now we can talk about this.
I stopped drinking too.
Look, I'm not even sure I'm done drinking.
I was going to ask that. Is this a forever thing or is this just like
so the way the book is structured, it is. And to be quite honest, if you look at it objectively, like whether I ever drink again or not, I might drink this afternoon. Who knows? But the man is right about drinking.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. You know, so
I made a list. Like literally as I was reading the book, I sat down and I made a list. It's in my Evernote. And I said, reasons why I drink and reasons to drink. And then I wrote reasons not to drink. Right. And on the reasons not to drink, I think I had 30 items on there. And it was everything from like, if I drink, it's going to make my son more likely to drink when he gets older. And then the chance of him having a problem with it is whatever. And like, you know, the alcohol industry has this. And it was like, you know, I'm not as friendly with my wife if I'm drinking, whatever thing. There's a lot of things, right? On reasons to drink, it was like, because I don't want to say no thanks to somebody who hands me a drink. And that was it. Like, that was about it on a drink. Like, there's not actually much more.
Not me. I like to party.
But that's where that book is really good. Is like it I don't know. It helps make like the questions.
It frames it for you in a very powerful
like, does
way.
drinking actually make that night fun, or was drinking there when the night was already fun, and so therefore was it the drink that made it fun, or was it just being in that scenario?
Did you not even want to be there in the drink? Made it worth going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So.
And it made you do something you didn't really want to do anyway, and it actually didn't improve your life that much anyway. So.
Right, exactly. So it's a very good book, and I honestly, I want to read it again, or at least want to go on Reddit and be like, what chapters should I listen to again?
Yeah.
You know, like when he's making those very powerful points, because they're really, really good.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to hear something 7 to 12 times.
Yeah,
so I'm going to drill it in.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I took the first 25 days of the month off from drinking, and I've never felt better.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I got to.
It's a good thing.
Slept so much better. I had more energy.
Yeah. And I don't like to say also, maybe this is the wrong thought. Like, I don't like to say, oh, I'm never going to drink again, because like you said, I might drink this afternoon. I have no plans to drink again.
That.
Fine. Let's go.
Okay. Right.
Well, you know what's really good about the book is he stops you from holding your breath in regards to drinking. He says, so he talks about the willpower method. Yeah. And it's like when those people are like saying they're abstaining from drinking, they're like, no, I'm going to do it. No, but they genuinely want to.
Yeah.
This is more of a, no, I actually don't want to drink, and I'm glad I'm not drinking. Yeah. Like you couldn't pay me money to drink because I genuinely do not want to do it. And here are the reasons why. And I think that's the programming that he did really, really well in the book.
Really. I 100% agree.
But
I'll
probably read it again.
Yeah. I used to drink peppermint hot chocolate at Starbucks every day for like 3-4 years. My wife worked there. And like when I was it was so good, man. But now, like, that sounds disgusting. The amount of sugar in that just sounds gross. Like, why? Something changed up here to make me not want to drink. Even like, I gave myself, I was like, okay, every year on Christmas, I'm going to drink a peppermint hot chocolate. The last 2 years, though, I'm like, no. Why would I do that to myself? Like, that sounds awful. So there's just like, that's what I love about the book more than anything else is forget the drinking. You could replace it with any other aspect of life and say, like, it's all up here. Like
1000%.
Yeah, it's like any bad habit or even good habit, you can reprogram your brain to think differently. And when you think differently, you act differently. And when you act differently, you change your life.
1000% true. I'll tell you another thing I use on my diet is I tell myself I'm going to eat that later. So I'm going to pass this time, but later I'm going to have pizza.
Yeah.
And by the time it comes time for me to eat pizza, I don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
So these things work. Yeah. It's real. David Carr is good, man. I think he wrote a whole series. He did.
Alan Carr.
Alan Carr.
Yeah.
And he
did the whole series.
He kind of did like the E-Myth route where he like went and clipped off
Different
everything.
thing. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, I
It was
really
good.
like that. I started the emotional eating one, I think it was called, and I got like a couple chapters in. It's a very similar concept of like
Really?
overeating. It was just like overeating does nothing for you. It's poison. It's bad for you. Like eating's great, but overeating, there's no value whatsoever. It just reinforces
Right.
that idea of like and there's no benefit to it. Like you just feel gross and like so it's fascinating.
Yeah, he's good. He's truly good.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of, you're talking about food a little bit and fitness. You're obviously an in shape guy. You dress well. You speak well. Have you always been that way? Have you always kind of been like, take good care of yourself and present yourself well to the world, or did that change somewhere along the way?
Yeah, so I've always been into working out. I was an athlete. Like I played Division I football. Like we were always going to work out, and I want to be big for the girls. Yeah, I mean, well, think about it. You hit puberty, and you're like, hey, what are the girls like? They like strong, confident, in shape guys. Yeah. So there was that in the beginning, but I got to tell you, on the style, and even the fitness in a lot of ways, growing up in the South, you get a little feedback for that. It's a very, growing up in the South is Bible Belt, very be seen, not heard. Humility. Yeah. Like if anybody starts to feel like, I remember there are times where I'd walk in a pair of slacks and a button-up shirt, and somebody would be like, why are you dressed up so much? And I'd be like, bro, we're wearing the same outfit. Literally. And because like when you think about style or looking like a certain, like if you have your body in a certain shape, and the clothes fit you in a certain way, and you look put together, it gives a different appearance. I always say there's a man in a blue suit, and then there is a man in a blue suit. And when he walked in, he's wearing that suit. It's the man that makes the suit scream.
Yeah.
And so for me, I did get some feedback around my diet in the South. Hey boy, why you eat? Why are you eating that salad? What is that, seaweed? I get that.
Grits,
I get
grits,
that.
Potatoes.
Exactly. Well, everything's fried. Right?
Yeah, everything
in the South. And so I'd get that. And then, when you start dressing a certain way and carrying yourself a certain way, it's like, who the hell do you think you are?
Yep.
And I had to really get over that to even go on social media. And I would say that was one of the biggest struggles that I've ever overcome, that I can tangibly say, when I got over that, my entire life changed. Because I often say suppression is wrapped in love. It's those that are close to you a lot of times that are, they might not have taken action in their life in a certain way, and they see you start to do that, and they'll be like, they'll either try to scare you out of it or guilt you or shame you. And I dealt with a good bit of that around fitness and fashion and trying to build an online brand, and I'm okay with it now. Like I get picked on nonstop about my jeans, nonstop, and it is a struggle, man. I struggle finding jeans that fit right, man. They're always too tight, because my waist is a 32 and these big legs, and I want to look stylish, and I pick stylish, and they're like, you're gay, which is funny to me. It's funny to me that they'll call me gay. Because normally these are like liberal people that hate me because of my friends. And it was like, it's funny that you stand up for this, but the first thing that you say to me when you think you're going to hurt my feelings is you call me gay. Like, dude, far away. In fact, send your girlfriend to my house. I'm safe. I'm safe, bro. We'll have a sleepover. Don't worry about me. So it is what it is. But I've always really cared about fitness. And the fashion thing is something that I've really acquired. And, I've always tried to do it. But I don't think that it really, really punched through for me until, the last few years. Yeah. It's become something I really enjoy.
Where'd confidence come from in you?
I believe that, how they say there's introverts and extroverts? I actually kind of don't believe that. I think you get dealt a hand in life, and you look at the cards you have to play, and you say, okay, I'm going to go this route, and then I'm going to work on myself. And so the more you work on yourself, the more you start to believe that you can achieve certain things. I think that's actually where confidence comes from. It's easy for me to walk in a room and be well-dressed and confident when I've spent all that time working on my business, how I speak, my presentation of myself. I think a lot of times you earn confidence.
Yeah.
Of course, there's people that are naturally confident and maybe don't even deserve, I think they call them narcissists. Yeah. But when you've done the things that you're supposed to do and you are genuinely confident in yourself and even failing, I think being confident is very easy. If I were here and I didn't have the construction company I told you I did, or I didn't have those 300 something doors, it would be very hard for me to look you in the eye and be confident and talk about it. It really would.
Yeah.
And so I think confidence often comes from the work that you do that allows you to know what your self-worth is and that you should be in a room with certain people and be able to shake their hand and have a conversation with them as a peer, and act like you're big enough for the room because you deserve it, because you earned it. That's genuinely what I believe confidence is. I think it's something that you acquire over time.
So what are those guys that are, what's your advice for unconfident people? I was in a room recently, there was like 30 dudes in there, and I looked around and I was like, I'm the only confident person in this room. I literally, because I was talking about social media and we were talking about making social media videos. And I was like, there's not a single dude in this room that would feel comfortable right now talking publicly to anybody at all. No confidence at all.
1,000%.
What's your advice to those guys? Like these, especially young dudes.
Yeah. Go look in the mirror. And I mean this quite literally. Go look in the mirror, look yourself dead in the eyes and ask, what are you scared of? That fear is something that is unknown. That unknown thing is the competence or the work that you're missing. It will literally give you the answer. And then all you have to do is do the work. So, for example, let's say I went and looked in the mirror right now, and I looked in my body and how I am, my physical presence, and I'm like, I'm fat. And that clearly creates an unknown because I don't know how people are going to, look at me. But I know for a fact that if I was in shape, they would treat me differently. Go handle it. I want to do I want to have a real estate company and buy a bunch of property. Go look in the mirror. Oh, I don't understand debt service, net operating income, cap rates. I don't get it. I don't know how to underwrite. I don't understand due diligence, property management. I don't get it. I truly don't get it. Cool. Fear. Go put a light on it. Competence is nothing more than a light that you put on fear.
Yeah.
But once you have the competence, you can have the confidence to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And so it's really always going to be work, but I think a lot of people are insecure or not confident and they don't know why.
Yeah.
It's a fear that you have around a competence that you didn't build. And that's okay. Forgive yourself, man.
One of my favorite sayings, and I heard this a while back, and somebody told me, like, you find your fear. So kind of like what you were just saying,
exactly.
shine the flashlight on that fear. And when I was just starting out, my daughter had some health issues, and I didn't have any money. And so I was worried about like literally raising my family with not making any money. And that was my fear. And just like you said, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what do I have to do to change this? And so I started listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts. And so like I had to learn something else. And then through that, I gained competence. And through that, I got confidence. And so it was super helpful. And another thing too, which I would like to hear your thoughts on this, is there was a part of it where sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. You talked about like calling those business owners and getting that proposal letter or something like that. When I started doing it, I faked proof of funds letters to make offers on houses. I didn't have proof of funds. I didn't have any money. I just got online and I stole a logo from a bank and I wrote it and said,
jeez.
This fraud isn't, I shouldn't say that. Dang it.
Too late.
Dang
Man,
it.
It's there.
Oh, guys, I made it through that. But like when you were starting out, like how did you have confidence in the steel industry when you were a 23-year-old starting a business and you had done nothing?
Yeah. So what I did early, especially when I started to do buildings that were much bigger than anything else we'd ever done, I went to people and I had in hand honestly told them, it was bigger erectors, and I said, listen, I have a really good shot at this building, but I don't think I can do it alone. And so I made the decision to make less money on the job to get the experience and have the training wheels and the backup to not ruin my name, to learn what I needed to learn and still make some money and be an asset to somebody that had helped me. Yeah. And so that's what I did. I literally, when we went from the backyard to major commercial, we did the smaller buildings ourselves, but whether your company can handle that contract or not.
Yeah.
And so I set up alliances and I asked like 3 or 4 people before I even got the jobs. Like, listen, I'm going to start going after some bigger jobs in my market. There's going to be a chance that I win one that's too big for me. And if I do, I don't mind giving you most of the profit for me to get the experience of doing it. Yeah. And so I wouldn't even look at that as an L. Yeah, I could have made substantially more money, but I also could have lost a bunch of money and worse, ruined my reputation.
Yeah.
So when it comes to faking it till you make it, I don't know if I necessarily did that, but I did take credit for the job and I put my sign up front.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a culmination of those things that really helped me when we were growing in construction. And I would do the same thing in real estate today. If I was looking at a deal, because I have a lot of people send me deals, even unsolicited, like people that follow me, like people that really, like my content. They'll send me stuff. If I ever looked at one that I thought was too big, I would probably call you or Ken.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, you know what, Brandon? This is where I am. I'd like to have a part of the deal, but being hat in hand honest with people and having the humility to do that, somebody that's been doing it longer than you, that you admire, that you trust.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And in fact, I think some of the strongest men in the world can do that. Yeah. That very thing. Come to somebody that knows more than them, tell them that you're uncertain, but you want to do a good job, and you don't mind if they make most of the money, but help me through this because I want to be like you one day.
Yeah.
I love how that's the opposite of, or so different from going to that person first and be like, hey, I really want to get into big deals. Will you just mentor me and teach me everything you know?
That gets my fucking
can I pick your brain today? Go to coffee.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, can I ask you a question? Yeah. Instead, you're like, hey, I'm gonna get some big deal. You're gonna make a bunch of money if this happens. Yeah. If that happens, can I rely on you? What a different approach.
And that's another thing I would like. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur today. Mm. I read something one time that said most millionaires are employees.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And so the way I look at if I were an employee tomorrow and I wanted to make more money, instead of walking into the office and asking my boss to give me a raise based off the same job I was doing yesterday for less money, then I'm an arrogant asshole.
Yeah.
If I wanted a raise, I'd walk in and say, hey, I noticed this, this, and this about the business. I want to grow the business. And I would like this little part in return.
Yeah.
And I've told my own employees that.
Yeah.
They're like, do you want to make, they're like, hey, boss, I want a raise. Cool. Why don't you help me make some more money?
Yeah.
And it'd be starting by doing that checklist. Yeah. Asshole, here's your beer.
I love it.
And that's a really good thing too, is if you can get to a level where you're like kind of calling each other names or making fun of their sports team or whatever that is, you can put down a lot of walls that when crucial conversations have to come up, they already trust you.
Yeah.
Nick Saban does something I really love. He said, I check on 6 players a day. He said, I talk to 3 that are not in trouble, and I talk to 3 that are not in trouble yet. And what that does for him is by the time those players do actually get in trouble, they know that he cares about them already.
Yeah.
And so they can put the walls down.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that actually helped me get over the E-Myth thing was reading all of Patrick Lencioni's books. Mm-hmm. Every one of them.
Yeah.
I know that we'll get to that because I did see an episode of this podcast, but Patrick's books helped offset the coldness of the E-Myth and helped me get to a personal level with them that was still safe without me getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And,
like 5 Dysfunction of a Team. We studied that in Open Door Capital.
It's one of the best doors. It's one of the best books ever.
Yeah.
And I really like The Ideal Team Player.
Yeah.
Which is actually about a construction company. Funny enough. So all of them. Death by Meeting. Yeah. The book about the CEO. It's really good set of books. And I think is Traction not the baby of those 2 books?
It does feel,
Traction like the Rocket Fuel, right? Isn't it?
Well, no, it's Traction and then Rocket Fuel. But I'm talking originally. It's like E-Myth. And I think some of Patrick's work.
Yeah,
probably.
Because of the L10s and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of Traction and EOS in general was just an amalgamation of like
all of them,
a bunch of different things. Because so Gino Wickman's really his genius was to go, okay, there's a lot of systems here and a lot of great business authors. How do we like Jim Collins over
put
there?
It together.
Let's just put it together into an easy to understand process that a business can operate on. So we operate on EOS over at Open Door Capital and Better Life. And it's been awesome.
Yeah, we have it. I hate rocks. Rocks piss me off so bad. I'll tell you why rocks piss me off. Because I'm like, I don't need 3 months for this. Like if we stop what we're doing right now in the next 48 hours, we can get this done.
Yeah.
And so
what I actually like better than rocks is there's a book called 4 Disciplines of Execution by Chris McChesney. It's in the it's in the Stephen Covey world somewhere. I think it's like Covey Institute put it out, but it's called 4 Disciplines of Execution. And they, instead of like rocks, they call it a WIG. It's a wildly important goal. It says there is one thing in this company that matters, and it's this. And everyone in the company knows it. Right now, this is everything. And then every person has a WIG, one wildly important goal that perfectly aligns to that company goal, and everyone knows it. I love that concept.
To the parent goal.
Yeah, to the parent goal.
Nice.
Everybody. So
Nice.
it's like very one thing. Like this is what it is. So it's just another model. It's a little more simplistic than EOS, but we took a lot of that into Open Door Capital. Is like Yeah, 4 Disciplines of Execution. Amazing book. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah, really good. Actually, randomly found that one at the library. I was
Really?
I was at the library. My kids were at story time, and I was just perusing the shelves, and I saw this book. I'm like, oh, execution, that's important. And I read it, and I'm like, this is one of the best business books I ever read.
Really?
So I recommend it all the time. Interviewed the guy over on Bigger Pockets, and yeah, he's
I'm gonna have to check
solid.
that
Yeah,
out.
4 Disciplines of Execution. It's an awesome book. All right, man. What's wrong with young men today? If you had to sum up, what's wrong with young men?
No pressure. I think they're very disenfranchised. I think that they're coming into a financial situation that's not in their favor. And the girl that they used to be able to have a crush on and date and marry and be with for 30 years has an Instagram. And to no fault of her own, she's seeing all the options of the world. And I think in a lot of ways that's breaking up the nuclear family. I think that the food in this country and many, many other things are setting him up to be fat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that video games are not helping that. And I think a lot of them are giving up. Many of them are being raised by single mothers. And being a mother is one of the most important jobs in the world. It's one of my most viral clips ever talking about mothers. But having a strong father around is something I think is very, very important for a young man. And they're lost. And so with every generation, I believe that there is a new set of problems and opportunities. And I think the problem for young men is most of their life can be lived inside of a house. When I wanted to kiss a girl in junior high, I had to get off the school bus, go throw my backpack down, find the playground somewhere, or bleachers or whatever, a trampoline, and I had to do it. I had to literally do it. And the power of them not having to do it or just liking a photo, I think that's gone away. So the actual interaction of the young man and the setup of where we are even financially, and that whole dynamic of the feminist movement as well, I think it sets a young man up to be angry, disenfranchised, and I think it makes him want to quit in many ways because he believes that only the top 1% of men can have a family or can get a girl or keep her. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of unfortunate truth in that. And I think young men are just trying to find the answers. And I don't think there's a whole lot of people there to give those answers to them. And for that reason, I think they're suffering.
Yeah. What about women? What's wrong with young women today?
I feel sorry for young women, especially the ones that are just hitting puberty, because they are attaching their value to the amount of followers they have. And unfortunately, that follower count is directly, most oftentimes, related to the amount of skin they show online. Yeah. And I think that's a very, very sad thing. And also, the reason that I have such a heart for helping young men is because I believe the more young men that we build that are strong, that take responsibility for their life, that do it anyway, even when it sucks, is going to directly correlate to how many young women we help by handing that man over to that young woman. I don't think that women want to be men as much as society is trying to tell them that they want to be men. Mm-hmm. I was talking to somebody at Daily Wire the other day when we were chatting about doing a podcast, and I told him that women today are growing phantom penises. And the point is that they say they want to be boss babes and but that's not their natural primal urge. Mm-hmm. And that's why I support being a mother so much. And that's why I said what I said about mothers. We're not putting mothers on a platform that the way that we should. It is one of, if not the most important job in the world. Yeah. This place doesn't run without mothers, but it's not being promoted. Cardi B is being promoted. OnlyFans is being promoted. Being a bad bitch is being promoted. But unfortunately, once you go through those years in your life, let's say 28 to 31, and you say, okay, now I want to settle down. Mm-hmm. Any guy that you can look up to and respect will see your past and probably not choose you. Yep. Yeah. And I think that's a very big disadvantage for young women today. Yeah. And again, let me say on both sides, it's not what's wrong with them. I don't think they're wrong. I'm not here to make anybody wrong. I'm not Jesus, bro. Yeah. I'm not judging them. Even the OnlyFans girls, I'm not here to judge them. I think they're in an atmosphere that doesn't lend themselves to be compatible together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's something society would have to fix. So it's not the easiest thing. you know.
And do you have kids?
I do have two.
You do. You have, and so
I have two girls.
2 girls, man.
Yeah, I have 2 girls.
So I've got 2 girls as well, and as they grow up, one of the questions my wife and I we talk about all of the time is, because I agree with you, like social media is going to be so damaging. I mean, it already is, and as they get older, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Like, what are you going to do with your daughters to help prevent that from happening? Are you going to let them on social media? Are you going to?
I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell my girls the truth of the world. Hey, listen, I love you. I just want to give you a heads up. If you do this, this, and this, more than likely, you're not going to be taken serious by the kind of man you're going to want when that time comes, right? Number 2, these are the tools that are going to help you in life. I'm going to help you and educate you. I'm going to privately educate my children. I'm going to educate you to put yourself in the best position you can to have the third thing. And I'm going to love you regardless, which is choice.
Yeah.
If you want to do OnlyFans, I love you with all my heart. Remember the repercussions that I told you about. I'm going to love you anyway.
Yeah.
I love you. Because if I can't love you, then you can't even trust me in the conversation and believe what I'm saying is real. So you don't have to worry about me loving you, talking down to you, making you feel horrible. I love you. Believe this. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even if I had a son that was, let's say he was gay. Yeah. Hey, this is what's going to happen, bro. I love you anyway. I love him. Bring your boyfriend. See you at Thanksgiving, bro. I'm gonna make jokes. Yeah. You know, we're gonna have fun. You call me names back, bro. All good, bro. It's all love. But these are some of the things you're going to face. Yeah. And these are some of the things that I see from people that maybe made the decision you are, and you probably want to avoid that because nobody likes that really. Yeah. You know, like being flamboyant, for example. Like, dude, nobody cares. Yeah. Nobody truly cares. Like, don't make it your identity. Yeah. Take these skill sets in the middle that are going to set you up for a life that you actually want. Get them. Let me help you get these in place. And then you have choice because I'm going to love you anyway. Yeah. The end. That's exactly how I'm going to handle it. For both, either one. When I have boys, girls, might have 100.
Yeah, I love that. And I think people will look at that and say they will feel like they're being judged. And OnlyFans girl will be like, you're just judging me. And you're like, no, I'm just talking about consequences. Yeah. I mean, this is just like there's actions you can take. Yeah. There's lifestyle. I mean, there's lifestyles that humans can engage in that just have a lot more negative consequences. And so we're in a civilization today. If we call that out in any way. And say there are more consequences for doing this than there is for doing this. Yeah. You're instantly now judging, and you're a bad person, or you're a hypocrite, or there's some problem with that, and I don't know where that ends. Like, I don't know. We seem to be getting worse and worse. Does that turn back at some point, or are we just like where's society head, in your opinion?
Man. It's starting to feel like it's going to be a Hunger Games situation,
doesn't it?
You know, and but I think every day that goes by, we start to understand more and more who they are, and there's alternate platforms where people are able to talk, you know. But I don't think we're there yet. I think that there's still a bit of a storm now. I do think this year particularly is going to be one of the craziest years ever. Sure. Yeah. You know, it's not just our election; it's like 40% of the world. Yeah. And you have things like the World Economic Forum, and you have the ability for all of us to talk on a mass scale on Twitter like no other time before. You have Alex Jones. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to believe, because we're humans and it's instinctual for us to survive, that there'll be a point down the road where we'll stop killing each other. I do believe in 500 years they'll look back at us and be like, those idiots were still killing each other? Yeah. That's moronic. Yeah. Like, idiots. Yep. And I think before we blow each other up and blow the whole world up, just out of human nature alone, humans, that we'll come to a place where it'll just stop. We'll realize that, hey, we can't do this. We can't kill our own species. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to, because right now, if you look at capturing territories and taking over land and countries, a lot of times that's an ego thing, and it's like a monetary thing. But I think as the species of humans, we should consider that that's going to end and help Elon figure out why we're flying through space on a rock. That would be a good idea. Yeah. Because think of it like this. Think if a meteor was coming at the world today. This would be a great movie, by the way. And every country had to launch their nuclear weapons to blow the meteor up. We would be Team Earth very fast, very quickly. And for that reason, I believe that we'll probably end up seeing that day. It might not be in our lifetime. Right now, I think it's going very, very negative. However, I do think as a whole, I don't think we're going to extinct ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Have you seen that movie Don't Look Up on
I was
Netflix?
just
no,
thinking
I
about
haven't
that.
seen
Yeah.
it.
So the
Is that the movie?
It was sort of. It's
Yeah.
there is a meteor coming to the Earth. It's an asteroid coming. It's going to blow everybody up, and then it turns into a comical, but maybe not so far off of like. It turns political. Like it's a metaphor for global warming, which is why the conservatives don't like the movie.
Jonah Hill's great.
Yeah, but it's like we're just not going to look up. If we don't look up, then the asteroid's not coming. It's not there, and like nobody
Really?
can agree. Every country is different. Every political party is different. Everyone like they start protesting both sides of it. Of like we gotta do something. We gotta not do something. Hey, this is my choice to not do anything. And it's a giant metaphor for global warming. But it's a pretty funny movie.
Damn.
Yeah, because
Never
people
seen
just
it.
can't agree on
You know
anything.
my
even
favorite Jonah Hill movie?
What's that?
Moneyball.
Oh
yeah.
Moneyball.
Movie's
So
great.
you a baseball guy or you're football, right?
I played all three growing
You
up.
did?
I realized that I was not going to get my school paid for unless I played football. So that's what I did.
Love it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Nick Saban earlier. I was creeping on you before this, and I saw that you started in one of the biggest upsets that there's ever been in college
I
football.
did, man. I did.
That's
the Uncle
pretty
Rico,
crazy.
the anti-Uncle Rico in me does not like to bring that up. you know, I
I'm
just
bringing
don't.
it up.
I
I'm
just
bringing
don't
it
want to
up
be
for
that
you.
guy.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be that guy. But yeah, I did, man.
That's amazing.
I did.
Tell me about that. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. So Nick Saban, he came to Alabama, and we had to play them. And he actually called our coach. He moved the game up to like a 1:00 game, and because they had the Iron Bowl the next week, and we rode in buses to Bryant-Denny. And people don't know this about Bryant-Denny, but if you were to Google Earth Bryant-Denny Stadium, in the front there's like these big statues and Nick Saban and Bear Bryant, but in the back it's like a graveyard, right by the entrance. So it's like this, you know. And then you go into their locker room, which is better than our home locker room, by the way. Alabama carpet, flat screens, like really nice lockers, the whole thing. And you walk out of that tunnel on the side, you know, and then you look up, and I mean it's just a mountain. There's frat boys throwing beer on you. They would never do that otherwise. 30 feet above you. And man, they turned the ball over 4 times. We didn't have any turnovers, and it was the biggest win in our college's history. In fact, when we got to the state line of Louisiana, there were 30 troopers waiting on us, 15 in the front, 15 in the back. When we got to the school, the mayor was there, the band was there, the whole thing, man. It was a big deal, man. It was a really, really big deal. It was the best day of my sports life for sure. Just like memory wise. And that's generally what I would talk about is the memories of playing in the big stadiums in front of all those people. It's very rare that you get to do something in front of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
You know? So it was something I'll never forget. It was a good day.
That's awesome.
And it sticks with me, you know, because we could have played them 100 more times and they would have beat the shit out of us. I'm very clear. But
lost 99 times.
if you stick in something long enough and the ball bounces your way, it's lucky. Well, but is it? You know,
it's a great point.
We executed. We did what we were supposed to do. Maybe we're in the right place at the right time, but it doesn't change the fact we got the W. You know, and I think life and business is that way. I learned more from sports directly about life and business than I ever learned in the classroom.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you a certain person. Going through physical pain.
I love that what you just said about just sticking in it long enough, and you are going to be successful. And what's that? I'm gonna butcher the quote. The whole man in the arena quote.
Yeah,
like,
you mean that one right there on the
oh,
giant
is that
sign?
right there? There we go.
Look at that. You can't butcher it. It's literally in the room.
Whose faces is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement. And I say that to say, like, when we got started like in a really, really hot market. And there have been people that have looked at us and been like, oh, you just got super lucky. And I'm like, no, but we actually took action and we did it over and over and over again. And I love that. And obviously that's one of the reasons that you're so successful is because you stuck in it and you did it over and over and over again. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a metaphor I use a lot where I'll talk about, you know, the whales that are out here in Maui. We were looking at them yesterday. So we'll take our paddle boards out sometimes here and we'll just paddle straight out, good, you know, mile and a half out there. And it takes about an hour and a half to get out there. And you paddle out there, but the whole time, you know, you're getting up at 6 a.m., strapping on the board on your car, driving down to the beach, unloading. It's freezing cold when you first get in, even though it's Hawaii. You just, you know, it's early morning. You paddle out, you don't see any whales, but then you see something on the horizon. You paddle that direction. That's gone. You paddle another direction because you see another whale. And you do that for a couple hours. And eventually, like a whale comes and like just goes right under your board or breaches 100 feet in front of you, just like out of the water. And you're just like, And people on the beach are going, lucky,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
lucky guy on a
1000%.
paddleboard, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that. People see the whale breaching, and it's 100% luck the whale would pop up right there when I happen to be on an open ocean that's got millions of square miles. But I got up at 6 a.m. I strapped the board to the top of the car. I drove down there, got in the water, paddled for 3 hours, and I just kept putting myself in positions to win.
That's what they say about luck. It's where preparation and opportunity meet.
Yeah.
You know, I think that about Michael Jordan a lot. Like some of those reverse layups where he wasn't even looking. How many times did he do that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How many times did he build the muscle memory of knowing exactly how to spin the ball? And maybe it bounced a couple times and went in.
Yeah.
Was it lucky? Maybe. But I bet he's going to be on percentage a lot more lucky than the person that never trained at all. Yeah. So, a lot of things could be chalked up to luck. But I think staying in the game long enough to win, and that's one thing I always tell people is like, stay in the same fight. You're going to take the punches of that industry. If you just stick it out long enough, you'll roll on top and get your licks in. I've seen a lot of people start multiple different kinds of businesses, and then they go take the punches from those other industries that are new. It's like fighting a right-handed guy, right, and then you quit and go fight a lefty. You're fighting a southpaw where the jab's different, the hook's different. It's all going to come, and you're going to take them. So I believe even if you were to go bankrupt, if you turned around and started that same business tomorrow, as long as you believe in the business model itself, you are more likely to win and win faster just because you've already been through the trials and tribulations of that business. So many people, they get the shiny object syndrome and they leave that industry. If they'd have just stuck it out, you already have half the cheat codes now. Like, go bankrupt, do it again. I genuinely mean that. Like, please, my friend. Like, you already have faced it. And whatever you're going to go to next is going to be different. And you're going to get that. You're going to take those licks too. You're not special. There's no business that is like super, super easy. And so, and especially if you're going to be successful at it and take it seriously. So
it's funny because when you say that you chose, like earlier you started this interview with kind of like, hey, maybe I chose the hardest industry to get into. When I look at your story from an outside perspective, I'm like, man, he got so lucky. He picked the right niche. Like 15 years later, you picked the right niche. It looks like.
The right niche. Finally got it.
Yeah, you got the magic. I
so
remember mobile home parks, and you picked the better one.
Bam.
It's
like it's funny too, is because like I should have went bankrupt so many times. I remortgaged my house to make payroll. I had people not pay me. There was a bunch. I remember. I'll never forget this. I was at a conference, and I pulled one of my mentors aside, and I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to have to go bankrupt." He laughed in my face. He said, "Son, if you don't think you're going to go bankrupt about every 4 years, you ain't doing shit anyway." He slapped me on the shoulder and walked away, and I was sitting there, and I'm just like, well, I got a shot.
I can do this.
And I really appreciate him telling me that because his laughing at that to me allowed me to zoom out from it and say, you know what, he's right. If I went bankrupt tomorrow, I'd still have the same customers. I'd still have the same, well, maybe not the same vendors, depending on how it went down. But I could start again. And, it was interesting when I finally got the formula of the business exactly perfect, and it just started spitting money out. I was like, all those years, and you become a multimillionaire in like 18 months. And you're like, damn, what if I'd have quit? What if I'd have quit doing this? What if I'd have let it beat me? My whole life would be different.
I always do this whenever I'm talking to entrepreneurs, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about getting into real estate. Like they call me, they want advice, or maybe it's a musician, athlete, whatever. But like almost all of them, I draw this graph over and over and over. And I don't think it'll pick up on the camera, but I'll just show you. It's like almost every business in the world looks like this. Like if this is time, and this is money on the left here, right? So it takes a long time, and then eventually it starts to look like that, and then the business makes money. So it's this part you're talking about. All of a sudden you're printing money, and it's like, oh, this actually worked. Majority of people quit and they get bored in here somewhere. And here's what I notice is a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're here, they finally put enough systems in. The email stuff is working. They're on this up, like the curve is starting to go up. It's like exponential curve here, and it starts to go up. And they're like, oh, I'm only working 5 hours a week now. Great. Now I'm going to go start something new. And then that never gets to this point because they're just here. So I spend more time talking to entrepreneurs out of real estate than into real estate. Because it's like in this whole process, for almost every person I know who is a multimillionaire took at least 10 years. It's about 10 years. It's rare that it's somebody like Cam did it in 3 years. Like, good job,
Right.
Cam. You're weird.
Very lucky.
How'd you do
Hard
it?
work.
He
Real
just
estate.
said it, yeah.
Real
Yeah,
estate.
nice.
Yeah, but real estate is maybe a difference, and I say that only because real estate is not like it's so the same. Like you can literally read a book that tells you exactly what to do in every single situation, and then just follow that playbook, and you're going to be probably doing okay. Where almost every other business is like the Better Life Tribe that I'm trying to build, this charity. I'm like, this is hard. Like, Open Door Capital is easy compared to Better Life.
Right.
Because Open Door Capital is like, oh, you just make offers, analyze deals. You know, it's pretty simple stuff. So yeah, almost everybody else, it's 10
I
years.
agree. I have something similar, and I compare it to pushing a carousel. You go to push a carousel and you're pushing, and it ain't moving, and you're, and then you start to kind of walk with it, and then you kind of start to slowly jog, and then the next thing you know, you're just stepping back and slapping it as it goes by. You know, but I think you're right, right there in the beginning of the upward trajectory, especially when they start to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And they really realize how much of a job they've created for themselves. I think that's the hardest part. You know, you're making six figures, but you are a slave to it, and you're like, man, I could do this for somebody else. And I think a lot of people quit
And
right
I don't
there.
have to answer my phone on weekends.
Yeah.
3
all
o'clock
of
in
it.
the morning when your house
or
is
the
flooded.
risk or the stress. There's another side of it though, you know, and I think that's what's really important.
Awesome. Hey, if you lost everything today, like you did have to start over, but you didn't have contracts, let's say you just couldn't do with the industry with the steel, and you didn't have your Instagram's gone, your YouTube's already gone, which I want to talk about. Like, what would you do? What would you pursue today, business wise, if you were just going to have to rebuild your wealth from nothing?
I would definitely do something that had a return on investment of energy.
What do you mean by that?
So the construction industry is hunt, kill, hopefully make money, and then you're right back to hunting. But let's say insurance sales, for example. You hunt, you make a sale, you build a relationship, but then it pays you residually. You know, in construction, it's not really like that unless you did like maintenance contracts and things of that nature. Now, you can get these big chunks of money and you can build systems where it kind of feels that way, but it's actually not. And so I would do a business where there was some sort of residual income, and that I would be getting paid for the amount of energy it took to make that sale again and again and again, so it could compound for me, especially at this point in my life, you know, where, you know, it would be paying me into my older years of my life. It's like when I finally get there in the next 20 years, let's say. So I would do something with a high return on investment of energy.
I can see why real estate would appeal to you then, because that's like
very
real estate
much,
is, right? Like we hunt a deal.
Yeah. And once you get it, you have it. The cash flow's coming. You get to fidget with the machine to make it make more, squeeze the profit out of it, which is something I like about the mobile home parks, because a lot of the ones that we buy are mom and pops. And it's like there's holes in it.
Yeah,
You're
tons
like,
of holes.
you know. So it's those types of things that are residual income forever would be my goal. It's more at this point in my life, it'd be more about the business model than it would be the product itself to start. So that's what I would do.
And then I would love to talk a little bit about the world before we move kind of towards the end. The world of influencer, the world like this online thing, right? First of all, why are you doing this? I don't want to get to YouTube, like what happened there, but why are you doing this? Why are you going on podcasts and making your face known? And like, what's the purpose? Is it to grow the steel business, real estate, something totally different?
No, there was a point in my career where, again, I grew up in the South, be seen, not heard, all these other things, and I knew that business could be substantially easier if people knew you, trusted you, liked you, saw eye to eye on you with things. The idea of hiring somebody today for me is completely different than what it was 2.5 years ago. It used to be I hire a person, they want to come to that job. Most of the time, let's be fair, as a mercenary, do as little work as possible and get as many raises as possible and go home. When somebody comes to work for me today, they already know me. They want to work for me. They believe in me and my cause. You know, like that camera guy that's behind you. That kid works 24/7. He doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't. And of course he has a great life and he travels the world with me. But even the guys back home, same thing. They believe in me. And I don't think there's anything you can do in employment. You know, like I can imagine the people that come to work for you. Like I'm working for Brandon Turner.
They're the best people. Yeah.
They're the best people. And they're not, it's not about money. It's about being a part of your mission and being close with you. And I spend a lot of time with these boys. And I don't think there's a more powerful thing in the world. If you like, I would take 5 guys that believe in all their heart and want nothing more than to help me achieve the mission than 100 people at 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It turns into a machine. And so, I was seeing this from people, and I believed in myself. I felt like, and I had a deal with myself that I would not ever, because I wanted to go on social media way before I did. I would not do it until I was at least liquid multimillionaire. Because you see these guys, man, they watch a course and build a course off of it. And the only business they ever owned was a course business. And I remember being at a place where I would be like, God, why am I in this business? Why this one? And to be honest with you, I think the answer was when I finally did go into the space, I got so much respect from the people that had big podcasts because I built a real business in the real world. And I think it's been the growth hack that I don't talk about in regards to my construction company is I just had a lot of respect from guys that had big platforms. And for that reason, they let me to the front of the line. And I'm very lucky for that. I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, people don't talk about that enough. That probably the number one reason for me continuing to grow my online presence is not to raise. I mean, the raise capital for real estate, open door capital, great. It's the people. Like it's I attract just the best people, and it's this constant influx of incredible people. You know, Alex Hormozy's doing it right now with companies. I mean, that's what like he's putting himself out there as like, I'm the guy that can buy your company once it gets to a certain level, but I'm gonna give you all the information for free first. He's just creating a funnel for great companies. I'm just creating a funnel for great people because it's people that take you to the next level.
I could not do it without my teams. Yeah. And if I'm being completely honest, the reason social media is so important is because even the guys that work for me, if they were to work for somebody else, they would not be as good as they are. They're good as they are. They have the energy for it the way they do because of me and me exposing who I am on social media, and they align with that in some way.
Yeah.
You know, and if I didn't have that power, I don't think I would get that result from my people. And so building a brand is important in many, many ways. So that's what I've seen.
That's great, man.
Hey, you made a comment to me, this was probably a couple years ago when we were talking about social media, and you said that the billionaires of today are tech guys, and the billionaires of tomorrow are social media influencers.
Yeah, I still believe that.
Which is so true, because you can use that to hire great people, to raise money. Alex Hormozy, what he's doing with it, like
there's no doubt Alex Hormozy will be a billionaire. Like Ryan Pineda will be a billionaire. Like these guys that know how to run a real business,
right,
and know how to utilize the internet to reach more people.
It's gasoline on fire.
It is gasoline on fire. That's what that is. Yeah. Very cool, man. Hey, what do you your 2 kids, if you don't mind talking about it, what do you love about your two kids? Like,
I love being a dad, man. I really do. I got 2 little girls.
How old are they?
They are 8 months and 18 months.
Oh, so young.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, very young. So the oldest, Emery, she surprises me every day because new words are coming out. Eva just learned how to crawl. The more personality they get, the more fun it gets. I just took Emery to Bucharest, Romania, to go see the boys for 2 weeks, and we went up in the Carpathian Mountains, and I took her from there to Cabo to meet Keaton the Muscle. So,
really?
Yeah. And so we did that, and she went on her first yacht, little spoil bitch. And man, you know how people get like really, how do I say this? Not emotional, but they kind of be like, I didn't know what love was until I had kids.
Yeah.
I call bullshit. I love plenty of people before. It just adds to your life in such a different way.
Yeah. It adds depth. Yeah.
It's such a wonderful thing. The thing I'm looking forward to the most is just investing myself into them and their development. I think that's going to be one of the most fulfilling things in the world. And so right now, they're just cute and they run up to me and they ask me to pick them up. Or Emery does, and the other one just smiles no matter what. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful part of my life that I greatly, greatly enjoy. You know, from the second they wake up to putting them down. You know, when I go home, I spend all day there. If you want to have a meeting with me, you're going to come to my big house in the country club because I am not leaving these kids.
Yeah.
You know, and like, if you want to do a boardroom, cool. I got a cigar lounge or we got an outdoor pool area, but I don't leave. In fact, I was telling somebody the other day, it's like, dude, I think I see my kids more than the average man. Because just the massive amount, like I'm there, you know, a good bit, like half the time at least. And then I spend all day with them. Yeah, I love being a dad. They go in the gym with me. You know, we go drop golf cart around the neighborhood. We play basketball every night. The little one's in a walker now. And the other one can walk. So like we at dusk every day we have this basketball date, and they think shooting basketball is the coolest thing in the world. Dribbling, I guess, is what it is. But yeah, man, I really greatly enjoy it. It's fun. It's amazing. It adds to your life in a really amazing way. So.
All right, last question before we move on to the kind of the pivot section here. You mentioned the boys out in Bucharest, is that right?
Yeah,
Let's talk
Bucharest,
a little bit about the Tate Brothers. Like, is that
Sure.
Yeah? How'd you get connected with them? What's going on with them?
If we talk about this, they might not let you hear.
They might not let this air because apparently that's why you maybe lost your YouTube channel. Yeah, maybe we'll start with YouTube. Is that why you lost your YouTube channel?
I think it was more about the online school.
Okay,
and which is an indirect attack on Andrew. So yeah, man, it's frustrating, but you move forward. I mean, this is a great opportunity for me to practice stoicism. Yeah, I tweeted it. I said, I lost my YouTube account. That's too bad. Time to get to work. We worked really hard on those channels. I think we probably all in all, it was about 800,000 followers between all of them that we lost. Wow. And we worked really, really hard for a long time to get them there. But I can't have a bad day, and being a victim's not going to pay me. So we have to press forward. I'm going to try to get them back. My content is very clean. I mean, if they didn't like the online school, maybe they could have warned me or whatever, but they completely wiped it. Vice News did a write-up on it this morning. And, it is what it is. You have to move forward. So
for those who don't know anything, they're just like, wait, what's Tate? What does that mean? Who's Andrew? What are we talking about? Can you give a quick,
Yeah, sure.
Like,
Andrew
overview?
Tate, he got canceled off of every platform. Elon let him have Twitter back, along with Alex Jones. And there's a lot of allegations that are out about Andrew right now that are not true. And if they were true, then he did it right in front of me under my nose, and I missed it, which I highly doubt. Yeah. So they're trying to get him off of everything. Vice News is spearheading a lot of that, and they attacked me. They sent my accounts to YouTube, and YouTube took them down. But I'm not going to talk poorly about YouTube. If YouTube thinks that they're doing the right thing or did the right thing, then or got the information they got, the only thing I would say to YouTube is watch my videos. Watch what I'm saying to these young men. If you think that I'm cancelable, then you have a substantial amount more canceling to do, because everything I've said on this podcast is pretty much in line with the things that you might hear on my page. I don't even discuss women. I don't get very political. I talk about business and what you can do to become a better young man or woman, and that's it. It was strictly by my association with him. Yeah, and I'm a little surprised, but a little not surprised. Yeah. So here we are. Wild, man. Well, yeah, I don't know where that's going to end up, the whole Andrew Tate thing. I mean, like, it was fascinating to see him get canceled across every platform all at one time. One day.
Yeah, one day. Just tells you that there's a lot more.
There's a group text. There's a group text, bro.
A lot more going on than we probably know. And yeah, wild. We'll keep following along. Hope we get that YouTube channel back.
Cool. I'll do my best, man. So I really will.
All right, dude. Let's head it over to the next section. I call this the 3-2-1 pivot. Based on the idea that in life we're going one direction, and when something causes your life to pivot in a more positive direction. So I want to ask you about 3 books that have I call it pivot books, that have pivoted your life. So 3 books, 2 people, 1 quote.
Cool. Wild at Heart.
Dude, Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart.
John Eldridge. Yeah,
John Eldridge.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful book on masculinity.
Yeah, me too.
You're probably a bit surprised I said that.
I am a little surprised you said that. Yeah.
I think that he frames things very, very well in a masculine essence. Yeah. I really appreciate the frame that he put around Jesus. Yeah. And his masculinity and his strength inside that masculinity. Yeah.
So, it's not like he has a quote in there about like, it's not who's the chick with the dog. It's like he's telling a story about Sunday school and some kids like, who's the chick with the dog, and it's Jesus holding the sheep. It's like Jesus is always painted as like the most feminine,
he is.
Like passive
but
guy.
But he was a savage.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing, and he was convicted for that. So I think that's very stoic.
Yeah.
And particularly because what happened to me with YouTube is very upsetting. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to cry about it. I have to move on. So it's a good opportunity to be stoic. And I think that Christ was in the rendition of whether how much you believe or not, the story of him in itself is stoic.
Yeah.
And especially the way that John puts it. So wild at heart. And then from there, all of Patrick's books. I hate to lump it like that, but Patrick Lencioni. And then, of course, E-Myth was very impactful to me. One more, I'm sorry.
Please.
Turn the Ship Around.
Oh, I haven't read that. I love new recommendations. That's great.
Turn the Ship Around. It's a book about a gentleman that was supposed to run a certain kind of ship in the Navy. And last minute, he got redetailed to a ship he'd never run. So he had to go onto that ship and push the decision making to where the information was, which that meant empowering all of his sailors. So they would have to come to them, and he'd say, "Sir, this is what I want to do, and this is my intention, and this is what I want to do about it. Here's the result." And so it made everybody on that ship row the boat in the same direction because he led with intent. And in fact, intent is my number one core value at any company I do. It's like intention. You know, if you make a mistake, I'm not going to fire you. What's your intent? Now, if your intent goes and you make a mistake, then you go. And so Turn the Ship Around is a really, really good book about that.
Very cool.
Two people?
Two people.
Oh, man. Andrew would actually have to be one of them.
Okay.
You know, he definitely believed in me in the beginning, and he pushed me to do social media, and my life is definitely different as a result. And second, I would have to say my ops manager at Red Iron, Renee White. She's probably one of my best friends in the world. I love that woman with all my heart. The company would not be what it is without her. I'm able to trust her and go do things like this, and that are going to ultimately change my life, and I'll be damn sure it changes hers.
Yeah.
So, Renee White.
Awesome. And then one quote.
You can tell the size of a man by the size of his problems.
Ooh.
And that couldn't be more true for me today.
Yeah.
So,
dude, it's brilliant. All right, past, present, future. You want to kick us off?
Yes. So if you were talking to 22-year-old Justin, just graduated from college, what are you telling him? What are you giving him advice on?
Stay true to who you are, which I've not always been perfect at. Nobody is. But if you find yourself off track, correct it. Forgive yourself, because it's going to take a little bit longer than you think it's going to. I made goals at 24 that I was not yet qualified to make for 30. And so when I got to 30, I was upset. I was down. But the 24-year-old version or the 22-year-old version of Justin was not qualified to make those goals for 30. So forgive yourself. You're not a bad person. You're a human. Adjust, pivot, correct, do the right thing by yourself and by people. And work really, really hard. And, don't be scared to show people who you are, and don't be scared to... I always say that my definition of what a real man is that, or the man I want to be, I'd never say real man to anybody, is somebody that can slit a throat and hold a baby in the same day.
Yeah.
And so I would tell him to love people, but at the same time, love yourself also. And if that means that you have to put your foot down somewhere, you better do it. So that's what I would tell him, for sure.
What is one thing you've done in your life in the past 12 months that's just improved it, giving you a better life? Could be a habit or an action, or it could be a product, or what's something you've done in the last year?
Another baby, man. 1,000%, bro.
That's an easy one.
I'll take a bunch of those.
Yeah. Do you have a number you want? Like, is there an ideal number of kids you want?
No. I want to do a really good job.
Yeah.
And
quality over quantity.
Yeah. Well, to a degree. I don't know. That's in the air, but I'll digress. So,
All right.
Awesome.
So this is one of my favorite questions to ask people. And so you've got two kids. Let's say it's 70 years from now.
Yeah.
And Emery and Eva, Emery and Eva, their grandkids ask them what their dad is like. What do you want them to say about you?
He had a relentless heart in both directions. He could be as kindest person on earth, but he loved boldly. I believe that real love is dark. And what I mean by that is, if I really love you and I really care about you, I'll confront you and stand in your fire when you're making a mistake. many people will let you walk out of the room and then they'll talk about you when you leave. I love you enough to stand in your fire and shake you to fix you, because I'm not so selfish to worry about you getting upset with me over the outcome of your life. And he loved very boldly would be the other thing. He would love you boldly despite the outcome for him. That's that's all you can ask for.
Dude.
Amazing. All right, let's wrap things up. 2 questions. First, what are you excited about? What's coming up in your life? Maybe business-wise or personal? It just is.
Gonna try to get my YouTube back.
Okay.
I'm gonna do my best, man. I'm not gonna talk poorly about them. I'm just gonna see what it takes to get it back, hopefully. And I'm looking at starting a fund myself. I've already done the paperwork. I've worked very closely with Mauricio and make sure I build that team right so we keep every promise I ever make. And that's all I want to do. If I do that, man, we'll be fine.
Love it. Brilliant. And then last question for you: Where can we find you? Where people?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter.
Not YouTube.
Not YouTube. I was going to say not YouTube
You know what,
right
that's
now,
okay.
guys.
Salt on a paper cup.
No, all good, man. I love you, YouTube. I love everybody that hates me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they do. Yeah. It doesn't serve me to do that. Waller7J on Twitter, and then JustinWinnWaller.com.
Okay.
And so it's Justin, Justin, and then Win, Winn, Waller.com.
Okay.
That's just actually my name. My middle name's Win.
Are you pretty active on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm pretty active. Yeah, we post multiple times a day. I think we have like 350,000 subs on Twitter.
Yeah, where do you mostly consume? Like, what
Where
do
do I
you
consume?
Social media.
YouTube's the best, man.
Okay, yeah.
You can learn everything on YouTube.
can do everything.
YouTube is the best, bro. Look,
We were nerding out over history shows on. the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
night.
dude. Useful charts.
Yeah,
I'm telling
useful
you.
charts.
And then Johnny Harris.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Johnny Harris, I'm pretty sure is pretty liberal.
Yeah.
But dude, he's talented. He's good, man. He's really good. So
Yeah, YouTube's incredible.
it's a great
All right,
place.
man. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Hey, it was a blast.
And that, my people, is the show. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the insights from the episode. And hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this episode or you enjoy the show in general, please consider leaving us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We really do value your feedback, and we read your comments to make future decisions about topics and guests and everything else. Plus, it helps us reach more people the more reviews we have. And last but not least, please head over to social media and consider friending, following, subscribing, and all that stuff to both Better Life at Better Life over on Instagram and my own personal at Beardy Brandon for more. That's Beardy with a Y at the end of it, Beard with a Y, Brandon on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere else. Thanks again for listening. I am honored that you would bring me along on your journey to building wealth without losing your soul. This show has been a production of the Better Life Tribe, copyright 2024. Our producer is Kevin Leahy with Podcast Point Man. Our videographer and all-around talented video guy, Carson Smith. My co-host is the amazing Cam Cathcart with DealFlowRealEstate.com. And finally, this show has been all about living a better life. But if you want my spiritual answer to what it takes to live not only a better life, but the best life, head over to abetterlife.com/best life. I got a 13-minute special video for you there. For the Better Life Tribe, my name is Brandon Turner, signing off.